might not be able to attend the meeting. Finally, I'm going to share my screen for our slides. Okay, hopefully you can all see that. If you can't see it, please say something, unmute yourself, and I will do my best to try to fix it. But I think this should work. But LinkedIn, that's what this is. It's a quick LinkedIn tutorial to help us better understand what LinkedIn is for, and talk about what are some things you can do to set up your account. So it's a quick way to learn how to set up your account. All right. So like I said, everyone should go to linkedin.com. We'll talk about what you'll input in when you sign up. First, I just kind of want to explain what LinkedIn is. You might have a vague idea already, but it's basically a social network. But how it differs from some other social networks like Facebook or Instagram or any other kind of casual social network is LinkedIn is a professional social network. So it's primarily for making contacts and sharing information with people in a professional setting. So that could be the workplace, that could be academia, so university, or anything kind of related to your work or your vocation. So when you go to linkedin.com, what you need to do is, if you don't have an account already, it should ask you to sign up. The page will look something like this. It won't be exact. If you're from overseas, it might not even be in English, but it should look something like this, where it'll ask you if you want to sign up, and then it'll ask you to input your first name, your last name or your family name, your email, and a password. No 1, 2, 3, 4s. You want to make sure it's hard to guess. So make it a difficult password that only you would know. Once you have that information, you'll want to click Join Now. And like I said, if you do have questions, please either type them in the chat box or shout them out. Okay. So it then want to ask you to input like basic address information, location information. If you are currently in Canada and you're in the Waterloo, Ontario area, you could always put, you know, the postal code for Renison University College. Of course, if you're overseas, you'll probably want to put your current location there. But for your school or college or university, you have a couple options. If you are already admitted to the University of Waterloo, so you have your offer, you're a 2+2 student, you're an I-based student, you can put University of Waterloo. If you haven't been admitted to UW yet, you can always put Renison University College, because that's where you're studying for your language program. Start year, I guess we're in 2020 now, so you put 2020. Of course, if you are a 2+2 student, you've started earlier, you can put that. And then your end year, which would be the year you're finished your program. I think almost all of us are over 18, so we would select yes for that. Okay, and then it'll ask you some variation of this question, which is, why are you signing up to LinkedIn? This is mainly for their marketing, but also it'll help tailor some of the information on your LinkedIn account to be more useful to you. So a few different options: staying up to date with your industry or field, finding a job, keeping in touch, professional contacts, building your network, or you can just put not sure. It's probably what most people put when they're first exploring LinkedIn. Then it'll ask you to confirm your email address. So just click it and just check your email account quickly and click the confirm button in your email, and that shows LinkedIn that it's more likely you're a real person. All right. Moving right along here. once you've clicked the confirm button, you will probably be taken to the home page for your LinkedIn account. It looks vaguely like this. They seem to always change the LinkedIn interface every 6 months or so. It's usually minor changes, so it should look still something like this. If you're familiar with Facebook, it's kind of like the Facebook interface. You have a bar along the top with different information, icons. You have a news feed down the middle, which is about updates about people in your network, as well as interesting maybe news articles that could be of interest to you. So I'm going to stop my share of the slides, and I'll show you what my actual LinkedIn account looks like when I sign in. So I'll just change my share here. All right. So hopefully you can see that. It's just my LinkedIn account, my home page. So what it is it shows, like I said, kind of your news feed. So I was following Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland. So there's a news story about them. Updates from organizations in my network, different news things. Maybe they think I like Star Wars. So there's something about Star Wars. Update from Clarissa, who's in my network. She's a former base student. So, update from University of Victoria, which is where I went to university. Beautiful part of the world if you've never been, Victoria, British Columbia. So, a quick plug there for you, Vic. Encourage you to go someday. Okay, so yeah, and then you see along the top, you have home, my network, jobs, messaging, and notifications. So very similar to other social networks. Okay, so the difference is not so much how it's laid out, but it's more how you use it. So like I said, LinkedIn is a professional network, so you'll want to keep things professional. Okay, so I'm going to go back to sharing my slides here. So just bear with me, folks. I'm one of those people that narrates what I'm doing, so I apologize. Okay. Hopefully you can see that again. All right, so moving on. When you first sign up for LinkedIn, it'll ask you to share some information about yourself to kind of build your profile. So this includes education, experience, skills, volunteer experience, language. So compared to me, monolingual person, most of you are multilingual, so you already have a leg up on me. So you can share what languages you're fluent in, as well as honors and awards. So if you've ever been honored, received a certificate, medal, anything like that, any sort of award, scholarship, you can share that there. So once you've kind of shared that information, and if you're wondering where do I get this information, you can always look at a resume if you have one. That's a good kind of guide for adding information to your account. But once you've shared that information with LinkedIn, it'll then ask you to add a profile picture. And there's some good reasons to do that. Big one is LinkedIn members who have a profile photo get 12 times as many views. So more people look at their profile than people who don't have a picture. And I'll say that's definitely true for me. If I get a new contact request, they have a picture, it makes it a little more likely that they're not a robot. They could still be a robot, but I think it's less likely compared to someone who doesn't have a picture. So then the question is, well, what's a good photo for sharing on LinkedIn? Well, it should be high quality, so no pictures from your 2003 flip phone. Make sure it's a high quality photo. Shows you alone, professionally dressed, facing forward and smiling. So while those beach photos might be fun with you and your friends, probably not professional. So you want to make sure there's something professional that you are usually on your own and it doesn't have anything inappropriate. A good rule of thumb for LinkedIn, but also for any professional communication, is you don't want to share anything that you wouldn't want to see on the front page of a newspaper or, you know, on your favorite news website. So if you think, I wouldn't want people seeing that on the New York Times, then that's a good clue that you shouldn't share it. All right. Now, I understand, of course, that most of us are not on campus at the moment, but when we do return to campus, the University of Waterloo Photography Club actually does photo sessions at the Engineering 5 building, Skywalk, kind of that pedestrian bridge over the train tracks. So that's a good place, just architecturally interesting, as is Hagee Hall, the School of Accountancy, another architecturally or aesthetically pleasing building that they do photo shoots. So when you do come to campus, when you do come to Waterloo, make sure you check the UW Photography Club's Facebook page, and they'll tell you when they're doing those photo shoots. And I think it's free. So it's a great opportunity to put on your best clothes and get a professional photo done. Right. So we're going to look at some examples of profile photos. And some of them, you know, they're already what we think of as being professional, okay? So we have a few people in suits, gentlemen and a few ladies in suits. And then there's a couple that, you know, or a few that were like, well, is that really professional? For example, in the top left corner, we have a young woman who's in their sweater and wearing a backpack and their toque or beanie and some sunglasses. And you might at first glance think, oh, she looks like she's on like a backpacking vacation or holiday or something. But that could be what she wears for work. And she could be, for example, an ecologist or a geologist. And she frequently has to be out in the field, out in nature. So if that's what she wears for work, that might be okay. Same with the gentleman, kind of this bottom center photo. He's in his blue fire retardant coveralls and hard hat. And you might at first glance like, well, is that really professional? But again, that might be what he wears most work days. For example, my dad, he's an engineer, he worked in an oil refinery, and that's usually what he came home wearing was his coveralls. So that's what he wore most of the time. So that could be appropriate. And finally, you have the gentleman bottom right corner. Again, it looks pretty casual clothes, but maybe in his industry, maybe he's in design, like visual design, and which explains the artsy black and white photo. That might be okay. So use your judgment. When in doubt, it's better to look formal than informal. Feel free to interrupt at any time or type your questions if you have them. Next, we're going to talk about a headline. So just like a news headline on a website or newspaper, this is a short, memorable piece of information. In this case, it's a kind of a slogan about you. So a slogan being like a brief description that describes you to a recruiter, hiring manager, or members of your network. I understand maybe that's hard to think of, well, what does that look like? So we'll share some examples. First, we have EAP student seeking admission to the University of Waterloo. That would be English for academic purposes. So if you're in IE-FAST right now, but you haven't been admitted to UW yet, or your university of choice, you could put that, showing that that's your intention. You do want to be admitted to the University of Waterloo soon. If you're already admitted, let's say you're an arts and business student, you put arts and business student at the University of Waterloo. If you've graduated, you have a career, you could be software developer at TD, that's Toronto Dominion Bank, large bank in Canada, Innovation Labs. So that's their career. Events director, Engineers Without Borders Waterloo chapter. So that's that person's career. So it's short, describes who you are and what you're doing. Okay, so our resident social media guru at the English Language Institute is Ryan Connell. Ryan's the social media master, so I feel like his LinkedIn profile is probably the best one to use. So we'll take a look at Ryan's LinkedIn profile in a minute. Then we'll take a look at mine, which isn't quite as good as Ryan's, but I think it's getting there. But you'll see he has his headline, Manager Student Experience at Renison University College. Okay, so I'll stop the share here and go back to our LinkedIn page. Okay, so we'll find Ryan's account here. All right, so there's Ryan. He's a friendly guy. He's got his friendly profile picture, which is great. See, there's his headline still, Manager Student Experience at Renison University College. Shows where he's working. Also shows where he's currently studying. If you didn't know, Ryan's currently doing a Master's of Education at Laurier University, also here in Waterloo. You scroll down, it has an About section, so it's a little bit more in-depth information about what Ryan does. I say a little more in-depth because it's still only 1 or 2 sentences. You don't want anything too long. Activities, so interesting information that Ryan has shared with his network. Experience, so this is Ryan's job experience. So he's been at Renison for several years now, as well as the University of Waterloo. You scroll down, lots of experience. Ryan's a very experienced guy when it comes to higher education. Where he's gone to school, so his education experience, Laurier, UW, Seneca College, so very educated. Volunteer experience, etc. So it's kind of, in a way, similar to a resume in that it shares some information about you. But what's neat about it is it's a little bit more visual and interactive than most resumes. So we'll go to mine too. See, it's not quite as good as Ryan's, but it's getting there. So you see I have my profile picture, but I am breaking a rule. That's the rule of don't be in a photo with someone else. I made an exception for Rennie Moose. Not only he's my friend, but also it shows that at Renison, we like to have a good time with our students. So I thought it was a good example of some of the things we do at Renison with student experience. So you see my headline, short and sweet, student advisor at the Renison English Language Institute, current location, and then my about section. So like I said, just a couple short sentences about who I am and what I do. Interesting articles, experience, so where I've worked at Renison. Also, when I lived out in BC, I worked with the government of British Columbia. Education, so what I've studied. Licenses and certifications, so I'm both ESL certified and I actually went to school to be a teacher. So that's my British Columbia teaching certificate number there. So you can see it's kind of like a resume. It shares information that would be useful for your employer or people in your network to know. Okay. You'll also see at the top, in addition to the profile picture, you can have like a kind of a cover photo. For those of you that don't know, this is the Engineering 5 building at the University of Waterloo. It's somewhat architecturally interesting, so I thought it was good to include it, just to add some visual interest. Okay, back to our slides here, folks. So by default, LinkedIn will give you a link so you can share it with other people to see your profile. But usually it's just a bunch of random letters and numbers. It might have your last name in it, but it's not very nice to share. It's kind of boring and hard to remember. So you can make your own website link, your own URL for your profile. That's maybe a little bit easier for folks to remember. So when you go to your profile, Depending if you're on a mobile device or on a laptop, where it is will vary, so you might have to poke around a little. But you want to find something that says contact and personal information, and then there'll probably be a little pencil icon, which means you can edit it. So try to find that. And once you've found it, you'll see something that says profile URL. And by default, I said it's a bunch of random numbers, might have your name, might not. But you can change that. So you click that arrow by the long web link, and then maybe change it to something that's mostly words, like mostly your name. So it could be like first name, last name, or first name dot last name, or family name dot first name. So whatever your family name is, then maybe your first name. And if you have a middle name, even better, because that'll make it more unique. So once you've done that and updated it, you can add that link to your resume and share it with your connections. Which leads us to our next topic, is adding people to your network. So you can connect with people you already know. You can go to the My Network section and enter the email for your contact. And, or pardon me, you can actually enter your own email address, sorry. And LinkedIn will use your email contacts to search for people you may know. But there is a caveat to this, is it might not be a good idea. I guess it depends on who you email regularly. It might be better to add people one by one, because if you even just emailed one person once, you emailed someone at the bank with a question 4 years ago, they'll try to send them a LinkedIn invitation, even though you haven't talked to them since, you don't really know them personally. So it might seem a little awkward to be emailing all of your email contacts. So a better way might be to just add people one by one. And when you go to the My Network section, it'll suggest some people you might know, or you can just type in the person's name and you might be able to find them that way. So as part of the networking features of LinkedIn, like I said, it's a lot like Facebook. You can message your connections. You can go look at their profile pages to see updates they've had. You can share what is an update. It could be like a news article that you found interesting, or maybe like a little post that you've typed yourself, sharing something interesting that's happening in your work or in your studies. Could be a photo of some cool project you've done for school or for your job. Or you could share other people's posts. So if there's someone you follow, you're like, that's a really interesting article, or that's really cool. You can share their posts so that more people see it. So there's very, in addition to very average folks like yours truly, there's very high profile people who in social media speak are called influencers. Think Elon Musk, for example, who have LinkedIn profiles. You can find them and follow them and see what interesting things they're sharing. Okay. So I think most of you are probably poking around on LinkedIn.com already, trying to build your profile. Once you've filled out most of the information in your profile, LinkedIn will start automatically recommending jobs, which is a big part of why people use LinkedIn. So when you go to the jobs section, you can fill out preferences related to where and you want to work and what type of companies you want to work with. So that's where putting in the location can help. You could be looking for jobs near you. If you know you're going to be going overseas soon, you could put in the country or the province where you're going. The company size, some people want to work for a very big company that's well known. Other people are happier at small or medium-sized companies. And the industry field. This good chance this will be related to what you're studying in university, but maybe not. It could be based on a personal interest too. So then click on all the jobs. It'll suggest some different positions you might be interested in. It'll be kind of like a news, or pardon me, not a news, but like a job search website. Different jobs will just start popping up, and it'll tell you who the employer is, who the company is, what the job is, and how you can apply. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Oops. Sorry, folks. Just stop the share now, and I'll go back to my LinkedIn page. Hopefully you can see that. So yeah, the jobs icon looks like a briefcase. I'm not sure how many people take briefcases to work anymore, but that's what it is. So you click that, and it'll say, based on your profile, these are some jobs that might be interesting for you. So a lot of them are related to education or communication or higher education. So based on my profile, these are all different companies that they thought. If I was looking for a job, which I'm not, I'm very happy at Renison. But if I was, these are different jobs they would suggest. So you can see some of them are located in Canada. There's some in the United States as well. Okay. So yeah, and you can also, in addition to the recommendations, you can search. Let's say I wanted to find something similar to what I do now. So put academic advisor. It'll recommend different advising positions in North America, and they'll just pop up there. So first one is academic advisor at Thompson Rivers University out in Kamloops, BC. Tells you a bit about the job, who the hiring manager is, what type of education or experience you need, working conditions, pay grade, so like your salary or hourly rate, type of work schedule, etc. And at the bottom, it'll tell you, get more information, and then you can apply. So, or pardon me, the apply button's right there at the top. It's a big blue button that says apply, or if you're not ready right now, you can click save for later. So it's a great job search tool once you've entered some information. If you don't have a lot of information on your profile yet, LinkedIn's not really going to be sure what to recommend, so it won't be quite as useful. So I recommend you fill out your profile first. Okay, back to our slides here. In addition to job searching, LinkedIn also offers a great service called LinkedIn Learning. And those are free online courses, so it's really cool. Or at least it's free for most people. If you're a UW student or many other universities and colleges, this is true too. You'll get free access to these free online courses. For example, I was recently looking at several videos related to a piece of Adobe software called FrameMaker for producing technical communication. I'm doing a course on it. That's why I was looking at these videos. And they were really great, helpful videos that were free for me to look at and learn how to use that software, learn how to use FrameMaker. But you'll find videos about so many different topics. There's lots to do with software and computer programming, but there's others related to more what we call soft skills, like working in teams or public speaking or professional email communication. You'll find different kind of mini courses on almost everything. And if you complete all of the little videos in a series, you'll actually get kind of an e-certificate that says you've completed that LinkedIn Learning program. It's not really a substitute for university or college. You probably couldn't apply to a job with just a LinkedIn Learning certificate, but it's a great way to kind of enhance skills that you already have or build skills in an area where you think my knowledge or my skills could be improved a little bit. So that's LinkedIn Learning. I'll show you that in a minute if we have time. Some of you now with online learning, you might think I have a little bit more flexibility. Maybe there's some things I want to learn, but it's I'm not taking a course on it at UW or Renison right now. There's great online courses where you can look at free materials. Some of them are free, some of them have a small cost, depends on the course. Coursera, Open University, MIT, OpenCourseWare. They're all great ways to kind of build your skills on the side. You know, you have your main university studies or your main college studies, but there's some skill areas where you just want to, let's say, you know, I did a little bit of Java programming in high school and I want to build that skill a little bit. You can find a Java course or an HTML course on LinkedIn Learning or MIT OpenCourseWare and build that skill area. So those are some options too. Okay. Let's look at our time here. All right. So those are our slides and it's just after 11:30. So I'll show you some couple more features of LinkedIn on the actual page itself. So I'll show you the messaging feature. Like your regular email, there's a lot of what I politely call junk mail. Some might call it spam. But I also have some messages from other contacts, people I know. So it's a good way to communicate. Send messages to your contacts in your network. If you do want to add me, by the way, you're more than welcome to. Just search Andrew James Dixon. That's what it stands for if you're curious. And it should say Student Advisor at Renison English Language Institute. You're always welcome to add me to your network. Okay. Let's look at the Jobs tab, Notifications tab. Again, very similar to Facebook. That's Alex Dalton, our Student Experience Coordinator. I'll say everyone from the in workshop says. All right. And then, like I said, there's other areas you can look at. It's got a lot of depth, actually, the LinkedIn website. So it's great to just kind of spend, you know, a half an hour kind of exploring all the different information that LinkedIn has. We've got a little bit of time here, so we'll go to linkedin.com/learning. Show you what the LinkedIn Learning page looks like. Just have to sign in quick. All right. And like I said, these are the different little mini online courses you can take. There's courses about everything. So time management. If you're thinking AJ's workshop was all right, but I need some more tips, lots of time management videos. 6 morning habits of high performers. If you want to be more productive in the morning, you can learn from those influencers. Figure drawing, something you might not think of in a professional social network. But like I said, there's different mini courses about almost everything. If you are a UW student, you have free access to this. Just go to linkedin.com/learning. It will ask you to sign in with your WhatIam. But once you've done that, you should have access to all this. Learning Java, learning HTML, maybe it was listening to me. Social media marketing, project management. So tons and tons of courses. It's really quite astounding when you look at it. So if there's a skill area you want to build a little bit, elevator pitch, that's a big one. Many people practice in their speaking skills class. Getting into the mind of the hiring manager when you're applying for jobs, how to get their attention. Excel courses, data analytics. There's so many different courses. Grammar Girl, she's great for quick grammar tips. I've looked at her website several times. There's just so much information, so many ways you can continue to build your learning. And that's something that a lot of employers are interested in right now is people that are continually building their skills. They call it continuous learning. They want people who have a passion for learning and improving themselves. So LinkedIn Learning is a good way to just build some of those skills on the side. For example, and even just watch videos about things you don't know much about. For example, I've heard a lot about GitHub as a documentation tool, but I haven't really used it. So I started watching a video about it. Still have a long way to go. But it gave me a quick idea of what GitHub's about. So LinkedIn Learning, great tool, great resource to build your skills. Okay, it's almost 11:40. That's pretty much our workshop for LinkedIn. I hope I gave you a good idea, at least briefly, about what LinkedIn is about and how you can use it. If you ever have questions about LinkedIn, about setting up your account, feel free to send me a quick email. I'm happy to help you in any way I can. You can also book a Zoom meeting with me or your peer leaders or Ryan. And we can do a screen share. We can look at your LinkedIn, give you some advice or tips. My final thought to leave with you before you go is it's important to keep your LinkedIn profile up to date. So a good rule of thumb is anytime you update your resume, that's a good time to update your LinkedIn profile. Hiring managers do look at your LinkedIn profile. So if you have one, they might not be impressed if your resume is up to date, but your LinkedIn profile is from like 5 years ago and doesn't have up-to-date information. So you may want to make sure that your resume and your LinkedIn profile are in sync with each other. Okay, folks, that's all we have now for the workshop. Thank you again for attending. IBASE and IEFAST students, I will post these slides in the next day or two, as well as a copy of this recording. Thanks everyone again for attending. I hope you have a good evening or a great day.